Welcome back to Dreamy Train Tales. Thank you for joining me tonight. Now let's settle down and begin our journey together. If this brings you peace, please like and subscribe so we can explore more historic railways together, but only if it truly helps you unwind. And if you'd like, please share in the comments where you're listening from and what time of day it is for you right now. If you genuinely appreciate these journeys, you can support my channel by buying me a coffee through the link in the description. Every coffee helps me improve and create even more relaxing adventures for you. Thank you so much for your support. Tonight, you find yourself standing on a quiet platform in Mendoza, Argentina. The year is the 1930s, and dawn is just beginning to brush light across the foothills of the Andes. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of wood smoke and frost. Around you, the Trans-Andean Railway hums softly with life, a masterpiece of early engineering linking Argentina and Chile across one of the most formidable mountain ranges on Earth. Steam curls upward from the waiting locomotive, its iron body gleaming faintly in the pale gold of morning. The sky above is a soft watercolor of silver and peach. Behind the station, vineyards stretch toward the horizon, their winter vines bare, branches glistening faintly with frost. You hear a low murmur of voices, passengers greeting one another, porters calling softly as they carry leather suitcases and wicker baskets along the platform. The scent of coffee drifts from the small cafe near the station entrance. Someone laughs gently. Somewhere a bell rings. The great locomotive exhales, sending a plume of steam swirling skyward. You take a slow breath and feel the cold air fill your lungs. Before we begin this journey together, take a moment to settle in wherever you are. Now, let your shoulders relax. Let your arms grow heavy. Take a deep, easy breath in and let it go. The world around you softens, the noise of the station growing distant. You can feel the ground beneath your feet, steady and cool. The rhythmic hiss of the engine begins to align with your breathing, slow, measured, peaceful. When you open your eyes again, the conductor is beside you, his navy coat brushed with frost. "Welcome aboard," he says with a small nod, his voice calm and warm. You step up into the carriage, the brass rail cool beneath your hand. Inside, the sleeping car glows with gentle lamplight. Polished wood gleams in honey tones, and the scent of leather and oil mingles with the faint sweetness of lavender sachets placed on each berth. A few passengers have already settled in. A Chilean merchant reading a newspaper. A young couple speaking softly in Spanish, their words flowing like a quiet melody. You take your seat beside the window, where frost has painted delicate, lacy shapes. Beyond it, the first light of the sun spills across the plains, glinting on rails that stretch straight toward the rising Andes. The whistle sounds, long, low, and full, a sound that seems to open the morning. The carriage shudders, then moves, wheels clinking softly against the steel. Mendoza slips away, its tiled roofs and whitewashed walls glowing in the early sun. The journey begins. The landscape rolls outward, golden and vast. Dry grass shimmers in the wind, and the mountains ahead rise like a distant blue mirage. The train sways gently as it picks up speed, its rhythm steady and reassuring. You feel the motion beneath you, the subtle vibration that travels up through your seat and into your body, loosening the last threads of tension. Outside, the morning unfolds like a painting. Farmers walk along narrow paths between rows of dormant vines. A shepherd waves from a hillside as his flock moves like drifting snow across the slope. A child runs alongside the tracks for a few moments, laughing, before disappearing into the dust. The conductor passes quietly through the aisle, adjusting curtains and checking tickets. The clink of his watch chain, the faint creak of polished shoes against the floor, the low hum of the wheels, all merge into a single, steady rhythm. This railway, completed in 1910, was once hailed as one of the most remarkable feats of its time, a steel bridge between nations, carved through snow, stone, and cloud. It carried merchants, diplomats, and travelers of every kind across the towering spine of South America. The train glides now past olive groves and fields dotted with small white farmhouses. Smoke curls from their chimneys rising straight into the still air. You can almost smell the faint aroma of bread baking, mingling with the crisp scent of frost and earth. The rhythm of the journey deepens, like a heartbeat. The sound of the wheels becomes your companion, steady, hypnotic, endlessly patient. You lean your head gently against the window and watch as the land changes color, the soft ochres of the plain giving way to the pale grays and whites of the mountains beyond. The light strengthens, though the sun remains low. Each glimmer on the rails seems to stretch into infinity. The train passes through a small rural halt, where a single figure waves a flag of welcome. Chickens scatter across the yard. A horse lifts its head, breath steaming in the chill air. Inside, warmth gathers. The little coal stove at the end of the carriage hums softly, filling the air with a gentle, dry heat. You can smell the faint sweetness of wood and smoke. A steward appears, offering hot tea poured into delicate porcelain cups with golden rims. The warmth seeps into your fingers, spreading slowly through you. You sip the tea, watching as the fields begin to tilt upward toward the mountains. The first foothills rise close now, their slopes streaked with snow and shadow. The sky has deepened to a soft, wintry blue. You feel the gradient of the climb in the subtle shift of the train's rhythm, slower, more deliberate, yet still utterly smooth. You settle deeper into your seat. The sound of the rails, the warmth of the tea, the gentle sway of the carriage, they weave together, and soon the boundaries of the world seem to blur. You are still, yet moving, awake, yet dreaming. The vineyards fall behind, the low plains fade, and ahead the great white wall of the Andes waits in silence, rising through the morning haze. The train exhales once more, its whistle echoing across the valley. The day has begun, and so has your ascent into the mountains. The morning deepens as the Trans-Andean Railway climbs steadily into the foothills, leaving the vineyards of Mendoza far below. The light sharpens here, brighter, crisper, the kind of mountain light that seems to make every color breathe. The steel rails curve upward through winding valleys, glinting like ribbons of silver against the ochre earth. The hum of the train grows lower, deeper, as if adjusting its rhythm to the climb ahead. You rest your hand against the window frame, feeling the faint vibration through the wood. The air outside has changed, colder now, scented faintly with snow and stone. The sky is a pure, endless blue, and thin wisps of cloud cling to the summits in the distance. The carriage creaks softly as the incline steepens. Around you, passengers settle deeper into their seats, wrapped in wool and quiet. The soft clinking of porcelain cups from the dining car carries faintly down the corridor. Somewhere, A steward hums under his breath, a tune you almost recognize, though it fades quickly, blending into the steady rhythm of steel and steam. The railway was built against all odds. You remember reading how engineers battled landslides, avalanches, and wind that could tear scaffolding from its moorings. Many thought it impossible to build a rail line across the Andes, yet in 1910 the impossible became real. This very path through snow and sky became the lifeline between two nations, Argentina and Chile, linking the Atlantic and the Pacific through an unbroken line of iron. The train crosses a narrow stone viaduct, spanning a deep ravine where a thin river flashes in the sunlight far below. You lean slightly to see the view, your breath fogging the glass. The sound changes as the train rolls across the open bridge, a hollow, singing note, like a bow drawn slowly across strings. It resonates deep inside you, steady and beautiful. The landscape rises quickly now. Frost-covered shrubs cling to the slopes, and the air thins, leaving only the whisper of wind. You pass small mountain huts, their chimneys smoking faintly, their walls the same color as the rocks around them. Goats move slowly along narrow paths, their bells chiming softly. The smell of coal smoke from the engine drifts faintly back along the line, sharp but comforting, mingling with the cold mountain air. You draw your coat closer and watch the snow appear, at first as faint traces in the creases of the hills, then as wide, soft fields of white. The train slows slightly, its wheels clicking in a slower cadence, a heartbeat that feels ancient and sure. You find yourself breathing in time with it, your pulse and the train's rhythm blending together. The conductor steps quietly into the carriage once more, his breath visible in the cool air. "We'll be crossing the first tunnel soon," he says softly. "From here it's all mountains." His voice carries a note of pride, like one who has crossed this range 100 times and still finds it wondrous. You thank him, and he nods with a small smile before moving on, his footsteps fading into the hum of the train. The track now winds through narrow gorges, where sheer cliffs rise on either side. Icicles hang from the overhangs, glinting like glass in the sunlight. Occasionally, a gust of wind sweeps snow down from the higher ridges, a slow-moving curtain of white that drifts across the valley and melts in the warmth of the train's exhaust. You pass a small outpost at Uspallata, a mountain village nestled between the peaks. A few bundled figures stand near the platform, watching the train roll by. Smoke from their chimneys curls into the sky, faint against the gleaming snowfields. Once, this was a supply stop for mule caravans, long before the railway existed, the only link across the Andes before the age of steel. The gradient steepens further, and the rhythm shifts again. The sound of the engine grows louder, more determined, the chuffing breath of steam punctuated by the soft hiss of pressure valves. The carriages sway gently as the line curves along the mountainside, giving glimpses of breathtaking heights and deep valleys below. You can feel the mountain's power in the air, vast, ancient, and patient. The wind whistles faintly through the cracks around the window, carrying the faint scent of pine and rock. The sun sits lower now, pale and sharp, casting long blue shadows across the snow. The sound of the rails becomes hypnotic, blending with the occasional echo of the whistle that rolls endlessly across the open space. Inside, warmth and calm remain. A few passengers murmur softly, their voices blending with the rhythm of the journey. A steward lights the lamps early, their glow soft and amber, reflected in the polished brass fittings. The flicker of light and shadow moves like a heartbeat along the carriage walls. You take another slow breath and let your shoulders drop. The air feels cool but pure, each inhale grounding you, each exhale releasing a little more of the day. You sip warm coffee brought by the porter, its aroma rich, slightly sweet, with hints of cocoa and smoke. It lingers as the landscape unfolds, wide and silent, eternal. Ahead, the peaks loom higher, the Cordon del Plata, part of the Great Andean chain. Snow gleams along their ridges like burnished silver. Somewhere beyond those summits lies the border and the Caracol's tunnel, the iron artery that carries this train beneath the world's spine. The wheels hum steadily as you continue upward, the air growing thinner, clearer, almost musical in its silence. You can feel the transition from valley to mountain, not just in the land, but in yourself. The climb has slowed your heartbeat, softened your breath, and pulled your thoughts into stillness. Outside, the world narrows to white and shadow. Inside, the glow remains constant, the rhythm holds, the journey continues upward, patient and unhurried, toward the waiting heart of the Andes. The ascent has reached its peak. Snow now covers everything, the rails, the rocks, the rooftops of distant mountain huts. The train breathes heavily, yet steadily, its iron heart working with unwavering grace. You press your hand gently against the glass and feel the faint vibration of power and patience beneath it. Outside, the world is utterly silent except for the wind, which carries faint whirls of snow that drift like feathers against the side of the carriage. The air has grown thin, tinged with the crisp, metallic scent of altitude. Inside, the warmth feels almost dreamlike, cocooning you in a golden glow. The lamps sway slightly as the train moves through the snowstorm, their reflections shimmering in the window glass. Each motion of the wheels hums like a distant lullaby, slow, sure, and infinite. The railway climbs toward its highest point, the Caracol's tunnel, a mile-long passage cut directly through the granite heart of the Andes. Construction began in the early 1900s, led by Argentine and Chilean engineers working together in brutal conditions. For months, workers carved through ice and stone with nothing but picks, drills, and sheer determination. Many nights, avalanches thundered across the ridges above, burying camps under snow. Yet the work never stopped. When the tunnel finally opened in 1910, it was hailed as one of the most daring engineering triumphs of its time, a bridge between nations and a testament to human persistence. You can almost sense that history in the air as the locomotive slows, preparing to enter the tunnel. The whistle sounds once, a long, deep tone that seems to vibrate through the mountains themselves. Then, with a soft shudder, the train disappears into darkness. The light fades completely, leaving only the dim glow of the interior lamps. The sound changes too. It becomes larger, echoing, the rhythmic clatter magnified by the stone walls, bouncing in waves that seem to roll endlessly behind you. Each beat of the wheel feels alive, resonating through the metal, the air, and your chest. The tunnel breathes with the train. Steam swirls against the ceiling, then drops like mist, brushing softly across your face. The walls rush past, rough, glistening with condensation, streaked with black soot from years of passage. You can almost feel the cold of the mountain pressing close, ancient and still, holding you within its embrace. A subtle vibration hums beneath your feet, the power of motion against immovable stone. You imagine the engineers of long ago standing in this same place, lanterns flickering, listening to the same echo, their faces lit by the same golden glow. This sound, this rhythm, has crossed generations unchanged. Somewhere ahead, a faint glimmer appears, a tiny dot of gold in the distance. The train moves toward it slowly, the echo softening as the air grows lighter. The light brightens, stretching wider, then bursts into brilliance as the train emerges from the tunnel and into sunlight once more. You are no longer in Argentina, you are now in Chile, and the landscape has changed completely. The steep white cliffs give way to gentle slopes of green, where sunlight sparkles on thawing streams. The snow softens to frost, and the frost gives way to bare earth. The wind carries the faint scent of pine, resin, and something floral you can't quite name. The engine exhales a long plume of steam, and the sound of the rails softens into a faster, lighter rhythm. The descent has begun. Outside, the Aconcagua Valley stretches in layers of light and color, dark ridges of rock, glinting patches of snow, and the blue ribbon of the river winding far below. You lean closer to the window, feeling the warmth of the sun return against your cheek. The air sparkles with the dust of snow, turning to water droplets as they pass the glass. The conductor walks past once more, smiling faintly. "Welcome to Chile," he says softly. "The hardest part is behind us." His voice carries a note of pride but also relief, as though he too has crossed some invisible threshold between struggle and serenity. The descent is gentle, long and winding. You pass through more tunnels, each shorter than the last, each one filled with a rhythmic echo that now feels like breathing itself. Between them, the light flickers in golden shadow. The landscape unfolds like a dream, waterfalls tumbling from unseen heights, the bright flash of condors gliding on the wind, and small villages nestled in the folds of green. At one point, the train passes over a long iron trestle, spanning a deep gorge. Below, a river rushes in silver-white foam, catching the sunlight in shards of brilliance. The sound of the wheels over the bridge is deep and hollow, echoing into the air like a drumbeat fading into distance. You close your eyes again, the rhythm continuing in your mind long after the bridge has passed. Farther down, the line winds past a series of mountain terraces carved into the slopes. Farmers in wool hats and ponchos tend to small fields, their figures moving slowly between rows of dormant vines. A shepherd pauses, shading his eyes as the train passes, and lifts his hand in greeting. The sight lingers, a quiet moment of life unfolding among the vastness of rock and sky. The train curves slowly along the descending tracks, following the path carved decades earlier by those who refused to yield to the mountain. You think of the workers who labored here, freezing and exhausted, their songs echoing through the valleys long before the rails were complete. Many never saw the finished line, but their voices remain in the hum of the wheels, the sigh of the steam, the whisper of the wind through these ancient peaks. Inside the carriage, the air has grown warmer. The steward brings a pot of tea and sets it gently on the table beside you. The aroma is delicate and comforting, a blend of herbs and citrus. You sip slowly, watching the valley widen with each passing mile. The colors deepen, from white to gold to soft green. The journey feels lighter now, as though gravity itself is releasing its hold. The rhythm of the rails continues, a heartbeat steady and sure. You match your breathing to it, slow and calm. The sound becomes softer, blending with the murmurs of passengers and the faint hum of wind against the windows. Snow remains visible only on the far peaks now. Below, the valley glows with sunlit haze. The rails stretch ahead, glimmering like threads of light leading toward the distant plains. The crossing of the Andes is complete. The mountain, vast and eternal, remains behind you, a quiet guardian watching as the train descends into peace. The Trans-Andean Express continues its long descent through the Chilean valleys, the rhythm now soft and almost sleepy. The air outside the carriage has changed entirely. no longer crisp with frost but touched by warmth, scented faintly with pine and damp earth. The snow that once blanketed the slopes has melted into glittering rivulets that trace the mountainsides, flowing down toward the valley floor where citrus trees grow beneath the golden light. You sit quietly in your seat, the window open just a crack, letting the air drift through. It feels alive with renewal, carrying the distant song of birds and the faint rustle of leaves. The light slants across the wooden walls of the carriage, glowing amber and soft, and for a moment you simply breathe it in. The train slows as it winds through a narrow pass, the peaks now receding behind. Each turn reveals more color, moss-covered stones, terraced gardens, the first signs of spring along the lower slopes. The sound of the engine has quieted too, the hissing breath now a gentle murmur, as though the train itself is sighing in contentment. Through the window, you glimpse the Aconcagua River, flowing steadily alongside the tracks. Its waters are silver blue, catching the sunlight in ripples. You follow its path with your eyes as it winds past villages and orchards, glimmering between tall poplar trees that sway gently in the breeze. Farmers lead horses through shallow crossings. Children run along the embankment, waving to the train with laughter that carries faintly through the still air. Inside the carriage, warmth and calm fill every corner. The passengers have grown quiet, lulled by the steady rocking motion. A few rest with their eyes closed, their faces peaceful. Across from you, the steward folds napkins and arranges teacups with quiet care. Every sound, the clink of porcelain, the low hum of the rails, moves in perfect rhythm. The train passes a small station, Rio Blanco, one of the final stops before reaching Los Andes. A few figures wait on the platform, wrapped in shawls, their breath rising in the cool evening air. A dog trots alongside the train as it slows, then fades from sight as the whistle sounds softly. The motion begins again, smooth and unbroken, carrying you ever closer to rest. Beyond the station, the valley opens into wide plains. The sky deepens to a mellow gold, clouds edged with pink and violet. Vineyards stretch out once more, but now they belong to Chile. Long rows of winter vines resting under the fading light. A windmill turns lazily near a farmhouse, and you can see smoke drifting upward from the hearth inside. The air smells faintly of orange blossoms and earth warmed by the day's sun. You take a slow breath and let your shoulders sink back against the seat. Every muscle softens as the world outside slips by. The rhythm of the train, that gentle, endless sway, seems to cradle your thoughts, smoothing away what remains of the day. The conductor walks through the corridor once more, his uniform neat, his steps unhurried. "We'll arrive at Los Andes soon," he says softly. "Another hour, maybe less." His voice carries the kindness of familiarity, the voice of one who has guided countless journeys through these same valleys. You nod with a quiet smile, though your words come slowly, heavy with calm. The light continues to dim. Lamps are lit in the carriage again, their glow golden and soft. Shadows stretch across the floor like long ribbons. The window now reflects the interior, your face calm, your eyes half-lidded, the faint shimmer of the lamp's flame beside you. Outside, only fragments of the valley remain visible. A few distant trees, a farmhouse window, the curve of the river glinting under twilight. The journey's rhythm slows, though the motion remains soothing. The sound of the rails deepens into a lower hum, like a heartbeat slowing after exertion. You close your eyes for a moment, and the world becomes motion and sound, warmth and breath, one long, unbroken lullaby. When you open them again, the train is gliding into Los Andes station. The last light of evening glows along the platform, turning the iron rails to molten gold. Steam rises around the locomotive, soft and ghostly. The air carries a gentle hush, the kind that comes only at the end of a long passage. Passengers stir slowly, gathering their belongings. The porter opens the door, and cool night air seeps into the carriage, carrying the scent of river water and fruit trees. You remain seated for a moment, simply watching. There is no hurry here. The journey feels suspended in time, as though the mountain itself still hums faintly through the rails beneath you. Finally, you rise. The floor creaks softly beneath your feet as you move toward the door. Stepping down onto the platform, you feel the cool air against your skin, the earth steady beneath your shoes. The stars have begun to appear overhead, faint and shimmering above the dark outline of the Andes. You glance once more at the train, the brass fittings glinting, the lamps glowing like tiny suns in the night. Steam drifts upward, curling into the sky until it disappears. The engineer leans from the cab, tipping his cap in farewell. The Orient Express, now quiet and still, rests like a living creature at peace after its long climb and descent. You smile, breathing deeply, letting the moment settle inside you. The air feels rich, full of life and memory. The journey is complete, but the rhythm, that timeless, patient rhythm, remains within you, soft and endless. As the journey draws to its peaceful close, you feel the last vibrations of the train settle into stillness. The air around you is quiet now, touched only by the soft creak of cooling metal and the distant chirp of night insects somewhere along the valley. The rhythm that carried you across the mountains has slowed to silence, leaving a calm that lingers deep within your body. You breathe in the cool scent of evening, faint smoke, pine and distant orange blossoms, and exhale the day's last trace of tension. Your shoulders relax, your hands grow still, and your breathing finds an easy rhythm once again. Each breath feels slower than the one before, carrying you closer to rest. In your mind, you can still feel the sway of the train, that gentle rocking motion that lulled you through snow, stone, and sunlight. It remains like a memory of movement, soft, steady, comforting. The glow of the carriage lamps fades in your thoughts, replaced by the image of stars glimmering above the mountains, their light, quiet and timeless. The sounds of the world seem distant now, wrapped in night. Your heartbeat matches the slow rhythm of the rails you once rode, steady and sure. The journey has ended, but its peace continues to flow through you, warm and unbroken. You sink deeper into stillness. Your eyelids grow heavy, your breath smooth and deep. Somewhere in the distance, a whistle sounds softly, a farewell, or perhaps an invitation to dream. And so you drift, carried onward by the memory of the rails, the whisper of wind against glass, and the hum of a train that moves forever through your sleep. Sweet dreams and good night.